Boys and girls, this past week we have been talking about the plot in a story. If you remember from looking at our anchor chart, the plot and story elements in a story consist of the characters, the setting, and the plot. Let's say them together.
Characters, setting, and plot.
Very good. The characters are who the story is about. There are two different types of characters that we can have in a story. Can someone tell us one type of character that we can have in a story? Hannah.
The main character.
The main character. And Nadia?
A villain.
We could have a villain. What else could we have? If they're not the main character, they might be the what, Bryson? Nevaeh?
The hero.
They could have the hero. What else? The minor character. Very good. All right, and then we have the setting of a story. The setting is where and when the story takes place. And we've been saying that chant all year long. Let's say it together.
Where and when the story takes place.
Very good. And then our final story element is the plot. The plot consists of events, beginning, middle, and end. How should we place the events in order in a story? How should we place them in order? Talia?
We should place them in order by sequence.
By sequence. Very good. So we're going to focus mostly today on the sequence of a story. Now, what kind of words help us identify the sequence of a story? Brady?
Beginning, middle, end, or first, next, then last.
First, next, then, or last. Very good. Gabby, do you have anything you want to say about what Brady said?
I agree with Brady because sequence of events is basically like the order of which the story happens.
Very good. So let's begin today by stating our learning target for today's lesson. Let's say it together. Begin.
Today I am arranging the sequence of the story so that I can determine the order of events in a story's plot. I know I got it when I write my own story using sequence of events.
Very good. So today, as you rotate to your centers will be focusing on the sequence of a story and the elements of a story such as character, setting, and plot. As you come to my small group table, we will focus mostly on sequence. So let's get ready to rotate. I want to remind you, boys and girls, that you're going to use this rubric that we use every time after our centers to rate ourselves. So remember to look in your center folder and place your number 4, 3, 2, or 1 in the corner of your center packet. When I ring the bell, you'll move to your first center, and I'll see my purple group at the back table. Get your belongings ready. Markel is absent today, so we'll just have a group of 5 today. Now, we have been talking about the plot of a story and the sequence of a story pretty much all year long. So let's go ahead and review. The 3 things that we have in a story are characters, setting, and plot. Sing it together.
Character, setting, and plot.
Very good. And today, as we read our little reader, we're going to focus mostly on sequence. So let's talk for a minute about what sequence is. Earlier in our whole class discussion, we said that sequence was the order of events. And Brady, what did you say? What kind of words do we use to show sequence?
First, next, and finally, or last.
Very good. And we call those signal words or sequence words. And when you're writing with Miss Como, what kind of words are those called? No, that starts with transition words, Chanley. Very good. So here we have a picture of sequence that I want to remind you about. First, we have people driving to the store. Next, we have people getting out of their car, heading into the store. And finally, they're ringing up their purchases and heading home. So these pictures right here are going to show us sequence. So that's what we'll focus on today. Now let's go ahead and begin looking at the little reader that we're going to read today. I've already placed it in front of you. What's the title, group? Very good. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to use the Post-it note on your desk, and I want you to predict. What is this story mostly going to be about? Remember, we want to start and make it a nice complete sentence. Let's go ahead and predict. If you want to thumb through some of the pages and predict, you may. You can look through some of the pages if you'd like to take your picture walk. I like the way Keelan starts with for instance. All right, I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds because we need to move on. I like the way Canley's ready, and she's going to prepare herself to read it to her shoulder buddy. You have about 15 seconds. All right, it looks like all of us are done. I want you now to turn to your shoulder buddy, and Keelan, since we're one short, we'll work in a group of 3 here. Talk to your shoulder buddy about what your prediction is and why you made that prediction.
I think this story, since I think this story, I feel that my prediction is very good. Is for instance, I think the story is going to be about someone riding a horse.
Good. Honey, share yours.
I think this story must be about how to drive a horse because I skimmed through the story and I saw steps how to drive a horse.
Very good. All right, give me your predictions and we'll place it up here on the board. Goodbye. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and begin reading our story, Drawing Faces now. We have our predictions up here, and as we go through the story, we'll come back to our predictions to see if your predictions were correct. Now, the next thing that we always discuss is questions. Now, think about it. Maybe you have some questions about this story as we read. So if we come across any of your questions as we're reading, we'll go ahead and read and we'll talk about those, okay? All right, let's open up our book to page 4. Let's open up to page 4. Chapter 1, Getting Started. Page 4. One more page, honey? Page 4. All right, let's go ahead and begin reading Chapter 1, Getting Started. Brady, will you begin reading for us?
Chapter 1, Getting Started. Some faces are round, some are square. Some people have small noses and pointy chins. Others have long noses and high foreheads. Even so, faces are more alike than different. To make portraits look real, you need to get the shapes right. Picture a girl named Jenny. To draw Jenny, try following these steps.
Very good. So based on what you heard Brady read, boys and girls, why does the author tell us that people have different types of faces. Why does the author tell us that people have different types of faces? Keelan, what do you think? People look different. So can we draw everyone's face the same way? No, we would need to draw them in a different way. All right, now as we read through the next page, I want you to be on the lookout for sequence. All right? So let's go ahead and look at the next page. Elijah, what have you been reading for us?
First, draw a light horizontal line. The little oval, right triangle or the base of the as wide as down would be
All right, let's take a look at the graphic organizer that I've placed in front of you. So let's look at this white sheet of paper here. Let's look at this graphic organizer. Now, I noticed, did anybody notice anything about what Elijah was reading? What did you notice, honey? Very good. Sequence steps. So what do you think that we can place here on our graphic organizer, Brady? Very good. Let's make it into a sentence. Now, do we want to copy word from the book? No. So we may want to take some of these things and place it in our own words. So let's look at our first event that we'll place on our graphic organizer. And I have my event here that I'm going to place. What should be the first thing that we're going to put on our graphic organizer? Elijah. Let's think about what it said in our book. You don't even have your book open. Let's open our book and let's find our first event because you just read it for us. Keelan, can you help us? Yes, since the first step is to draw an oval, I'll use my signal word first and then I'll write first, draw an oval. Very good. Now notice that the author places the steps down at the bottom for us. Based on what you've been reading, why does the author most likely put this graphic aid at the bottom for us? Chanley, why does the author place this graphic aid at the bottom? Very good. Not only can we read it here, we can also look at the graphic aid to help us. Because if you're looking at this book, would this book be fiction or would it be non-fiction? Non-fiction, Brady. Very good. And this is one of our features we've talked about this year, having our graphic aids. Great job. All right, let's look and find another event that we can place on our graphic organizer. Oh, I like the way Elijah's looking in his text. What's another event, honey? Very good. And so our signal word that we're going to place, honey, is what? Next. So I'm going to write mine, and I'm going to write next, comma, draw 3 ovals in the middle. And notice I'm not putting exactly what it says in the book. I'm putting it into my own words. All right, so go ahead and write down that event. And we're going to stop right there for today because it's time to clean up our centers. But when we meet again, boys and girls, we'll continue to focus on the sequence of drawing faces, and we will write down the rest of our events that we need to write in order to draw Jenny's face. Are there any questions about today's lesson? Anybody? All right, very good. All right, let's go ahead and put your graphic organizer inside your book and close it up for me. And I'll leave our predictions here, and I'll leave my board here so we'll have it for next time. Clean up. When I ring the bell a second time, you're going to move to your seat. Make sure that you rate yourself third grade at the top of your center using the center rubric in your folder. I like how nice and quiet you are. Macaroni and cheese.
Everybody freeze.
No more voices. Move to your seats. Take out an exit ticket so we can close up today's lesson at our centers. We were focusing on sequence of a story and our story elements. I like the way Nadia is ready. Let's leave our folders even. Let's leave our folders on our desk and let's take out an exit ticket. Our exit ticket for today, boys and girls, is using what you have learned in your centers today. Why is it important to use the sequence in a story? Write it in a nice complete sentence, restating the question. And once you're finished, you're going to place it on our exit ticket board. Carl, let's get out our exit ticket. Why is it important to use sequence in a story? Very good, Caitlin. I like the way Caitlin used a show me the evidence starter. Once you've written it, let's place it on our exit tickets board under your corresponding number. Very good. And later on this week, we will get to the rest of our centers focusing on sequence. You can just leave your bucket on the ground. All right, we have a few more people. Let's finish those up. All right, if you finished yours, let's see. I like what number 1 said, Chanley. It is important to use sequence in a story so people know when the events are happening. Very good. Number 5, Nevaeh. Let's listen to Nevaeh's. It is important to have sequence in a story because you wouldn't know the order in which the story took place. Very good. So both of those answers are very similar. Give me a thumbs up if your answer was similar to Nevaeh and Chanley's answer. Everybody, very good. All right, so later on this week when we go to our centers, we will focus on sequence of events.